Hi, everybody, and welcome to Pod Stallions. My name is Brian, and with me, as always, is my friend and fellow Cat Fancy magazine subscriber, Jason Lindsay.
Hello, everyone.
I think we met on the Cat Fancy forums. Remember?
We did.
Yeah.
Long time subscribers.
Yeah. I've never owned a cat, but I sure do love that magazine.
Just good to be aware. It's good to have the information.
Yeah, exactly. If I ever want to take that plunge. We have a fun episode in store because, and I think it's fun because we didn't have to do a lick of research.
Not that we ever do.
But even less. Much less somehow.
A little we all normally do.
Your statement is hurtful and accurate. I thought it would just be fun to take the Pod Stallions Facebook group, which is now at 2,100 members. Did you know that?
I did not know that. See, this was a good idea then. So we I don't know what sparked it, but it was like, why don't we just? Because you're always, I'm not in there that much, but lots of.
You know what? I think our relationship with the Facebook group is like when you call your mom and dad and your dad, because you spend a lot less time.
Yeah. And thus the kids resent me less.
Yeah.
And I'm more mythically
there's a whole legend around you. They take me for granted.
Dad's coming tomorrow? Oh, geez. Okay. Well, I better get my best winkle pickers on. That's kind of how I planned it, just to sort of be the mythical dad that's never really around.
You're Willy Wonking us.
Yes, I'm big Willy Wonka. Absolutely. But it seemed like, because when I do pop in, there's lots of heavy duty philosophical conversations going on about Rodney Allen Rippey and
Mason Reese,
and all.
We're making the whole gap of child actors. James Bond 3 is this week's selection.
Who would win in a mano a mano Thunderdome type? But let's just do let's open it up. Let's just go. Hey, what do you guys want to talk? What do you want to know? What are you thinking about? Because we do get questions sometimes on there and in the comments once the episode goes up.
Oh, sure.
And I thought maybe this would be, and I haven't seen all of them. I dipped in and saw a couple, but how many replies did you? When did you put it up? Yesterday or?
No, I did it typical Brian style today.
Okay.
And
I think get like 1,000 replies.
Well, we're close. Close.
All right. We'll make this a mini series. This will be part 1.
Yes. I think we have enough to go on.
All right. All right. Good. And so you want to let you start it off, or do whatever, and so I just pick one and then you go. Yeah, pick one, and then we'll just kind of we'll I think telepathically, as we always have, we'll know when we've exhausted, because if anything knows about us, people know our brevity. We really get to the point, and we'll get in and out of each of these, and we'll give it a decent amount of time, but not enough to bore anybody.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna go with. Okay. Michael asked a question. What TV show do you just don't get why it's popular / has a slavish cult following?
Ooh. Oh boy, you better go first on that one, because I got to think. No.
Oh, this is like too many things rushing through the door. There's like, do I want to die on the internet tomorrow?
Well, I guess we should clarify. So we're talking about something that did not break through the mainstream and was a huge cultural thing, but it's got a following that's always kind of been there.
Okay. I can throw one out there on that level, and that is I never got Firefly. I didn't I watched it, and it's sort of like it's sort of like jerk chicken. That was okay, But I don't get why anybody's like, oh my God, I have to have jerk chicken. Like that just doesn't come to me. So it's just one of those things where it's not that it's bad. I can't say it's bad, and I didn't think it was all that terrible, but just why is it so popular?
It's so weird you would pull that title out, because this is going back a few weeks. I went to Amoeba with our buddy Matt Weinhold. He was bringing in a bunch of gear to get credit, and I did the same. And he goes, look, if you want to look through this and I found, like a regular DVD version of Serenity, the Firefly movie. Now, I hadn't seen it in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I went, oh, I'll have that. I'll take that. Oh no, I'm sorry. He had the series as well. Yeah, he had Firefly the series and the movie, and I went, ooh, I'll grab these, because the only way I saw the show was when it came out on DVD. I never saw it on air.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went to the theater to see Serenity, and so I hadn't seen it in forever, and I popped it on. So I've like in the last 6 weeks or so, 5-6 weeks, I've actually watched a handful of Firefly episodes. I totally get what you're saying. The weird thing is, and this isn't fair to what I'm about to say. It's not fair to I haven't seen a ton of Buffy or a ton of Angel or those things, but they never clicked with me. None of that stuff ever really clicked with me. I know it's hugely popular, and I know it was never, top 5 shows kind of thing. But it never clicked with me. But Firefly did, but not like in a huge way, but in a sense of, oh, there's some great characters here, and it's well written, and I appreciated the future it was sort of positing, and the amalgams of language and Chinese coming into the common phrases and stuff. But I really liked Serenity, the movie. So when the movie came out, and I remember that was in those sort of doldrums where there wasn't a ton of stuff happening. I don't remember what year it came out, but early 2000s maybe. And I remember saying to somebody when we saw it, I'm like, that's kind of what I was hoping the prequels were going to be, or at least have some of that in the Star Wars prequels, because it had a cynicism to it and a humor to it, that it wasn't all kind of po-faced. And again, I appreciate bits of the prequels, absolutely, but so I've appreciated it.
I really do kind of like all of the elements,
but I was thinking about it as I'm watching it, going, do people talk about Firefly anymore? Like it used to, for a while there, it had, the brown coats, and trying to get the show going again. And if there's a way to get another film made, it is a miracle that the movie got made and all that stuff. But as I'm watching it, I'm going, is Joss Whedon, is all of this stuff just not embraced anymore? Like, I don't know where we stand with any of this stuff.
Yeah, that's a good question.
So I haven't heard about Firefly in years, like any kind of around that.
I think you have to kind of separate the property from the creator.
Oh, I totally agree. But
my kids could give you a very long lecture on that. Sure. But I've had really interesting introspective arguments with my children on that subject, and it's like, wow, okay, we're at a point where we can just do this. Great. Bye.
Yeah, that's a whole other episode and conversation about where do you stop with all of this. But I watched a handful, and I thought, it's I can see why it didn't work. It was very well done, very well made television. I can see why it didn't explode. But it got a fan base, and they got a movie made by a different studio. Like, it wasn't even Fox. He took it to Universal, and they decided to do it. So that whole thing is just bizarre. But that's a good answer. And I would probably say the Buffy, all of that, all those universes of his that were like Buffy and Angel and Dollhouse or whatever those other shows were called, where all the leads are 13-pound young women kick ass. I just didn't connect.
You know what? We watched all those shows, although we, meaning me and my wife, or just my wife. Like, I didn't follow her down with Angel and all that stuff. that was the one thing I didn't really like, and that was Christy Swanson in the original Buffy film.
Oh yeah,
she looked like she could fight.
Yeah, she did.
And when they cast,
film, by the way, the movie's good. I like.
I love the film. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't even mind the series. I'm just not a big fan of it. I just like it. It's fine. I watched a lot of it. I liked some of it, and I could definitely say that it influenced the revival of Doctor Who, which I'm grateful for. But Sarah Michelle Gellar, like, she looks like she's a $1.05 soaking wet with a brick.
Yeah.
And I just can't. I think it was a little. They worked on the martial arts aspect of it, but it's like I never quite bought her as the Slayer.
It was a thread that was in everything he did. Sort of. There was, there was one in Firefly, the sister of the Doctor, and I forget their names, but she could kick people's heads in, and it was just always kind of there in his stuff, and it was like. Just seemed to be a bit of overkill to me. But
yeah, I mean, it hit or miss.
I missed that train, the Buffy Angel. I kind of missed that train. I missed it. Yeah. I didn't get on that train. So
no, I understand what you're saying.
That would probably be my answer.
Yeah. Well, those are great. All right. You want to go with the next question?
Yeah. Okay. The one I saw that jumped out was favorite all-time Doctor Who story, which to me is like. Desert Island discs. You go into a desert island, you can only take 5 albums or 5 movies or whatever. What's the one story that if you could only watch one for, a year or whatever, what would it be?
Well, a lot of people wouldn't say the Gunfighters, but
well, there goes my.
I would agree with those people.
There it goes.
Oh man. I guess probably the Monster of Peladon.
Oh,
it's a very early Doctor Who story for me. There's a couple of Bakers I'd really like to discuss instead, but because that story, I remember watching that in the 3rd grade, I think, and just being really. Like the whole fantasy element of all those different races being on a planet, hit me, and I really, really like. When I think of Doctor Who, I often think of that Alpha Centauri alien,
hermaphroditic.
Yeah. Which is, and just how like I completely accepted this ridiculous grade school play alien. Because of the gravity of the show.
Yeah.
Because Alpha Centauri didn't look good when I was 9 and hasn't changed.
That was one of those shows, though, that I probably saw pictures of in the magazine before I watched the show because it took so long to get those shows over here in the mid 80s or whatever it was. And so that was, anytime there were creatures in any of the stories.
Yeah,
I would be keyed up for that story, and that's a good one. I would have to say, because someone asked me this before recently too. Like, I don't know much about the show, and like I've seen some of the new version, but like if I wanted to get into the older series, what would I start with? And of course, I always go with Tom Baker.
Yeah.
Cliche would probably be to say Genesis of the Daleks.
Yeah.
It's a high watermark.
Oh yeah.
Really dark. It's violent. Baker is on fire. Davros is the best villain the show's ever had. And as cliche as it is, I'm going to have to say Genesis of the Daleks. Although I was really torn because I want to say the Seeds of Doom, which is
okay. That's an amazing story.
Incredible. Just.
And I just was watching a clip of that turnaround Doctor, and he does that 180 or the 360, and the guy goes just one way around.
It's got lines like that. It's got the violence in it, and it's got Tom Baker's, doctor.
And it's body horror. It's Quatermass body horror.
But he's kicking ass. Like, he's twisting necks and punching guts and.
Oh yeah.
It was like a Pertwee story. It seemed, or like an episode of the Sweeney or something that they made into a Doctor Who story.
Now, I would actually say my second choice, like barring my first choice, would be Ark in Space.
And that would be, I can't pick the question was one, but that would be my trio. Because I just went, and when you realize Ark in Space is his second story, and I think the second film too. And how by the time they get to that second story, and of course the script is so good, but he completely owns the character. It took him one story to just be fully formed almost. Yeah,
that Homo sapiens speech, which my dad made fun of while I was watching it for the first time. I remember that going,
and it still stings. I know it still stings.
Well, it was like living with riff tracks with my parents.
There's a line in Seeds of Doom too where Sarah Jane is about to get the crinoid pod on her arm.
Yeah.
He jumps through the skylight. The doctor jumps through the skylight down to the ground, grabs her, and was it Scarman? Is that the guy's name? No. Who, by the way, played that same.
Scarman was never mind.
Scarman was a different story.
Pyramids of Mars, wasn't it?
Pyramids of Mars. Yes, I forget the guy's name. The villain in the piece. Yeah. But he also played Camp Freddy in the Italian Job. He's Camp Freddy, and he's in Get Carter, if I'm not mistaken. But he turns and he says, congratulations, what do you do for an encore? And Tom Baker says, I win. And he's holding a gun. He's holding a gun on him. And it's like, this isn't Doctor Who. What is this?
Yeah.
But it's so 70s, and it's still in that Philip Hinchcliffe kind of era of monsters and darkness and Hammer and all those things. I really love that. So those three are great. See, we can't just say one. You can't say one with classic Doctor.
No, my gosh, no. There's too much to choose
from. Then I wanted to follow up, I think, on this. And you know what? I'm going to ask, because the few that I wrote down, I did not write the names of the people down. So I'm apologizing in advance to all of you. We'll put no prizes.
I believe this is Nick who asked the Doctor Who question.
Nick had a follow-up, which was, if you were to make a modern version of Phantom of the Paradise or Buckaroo Banzai, who would you cast? Now, I don't cast rundown from top to bottom, maybe main characters, sort of, I guess.
Yeah, like I'm going to take the Phantom of the Paradise question, like you're going to take the Buckaroo Banzai.
I figured
I think we know who is who here. I always thought the perfect Swan would, and I'm sure you'll heartily disagree with me, Jason, would have been David Bowie.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah. Now that David Bowie's not here, I think for Swan, I would choose his equivalent, who is also from the same planet, in the form of Tilda Swinton.
Oh, that's great casting.
And, I might even, and gosh, this just sounds interesting to me, but I might even switch all the genders.
Sure.
There could be some fun with that. I don't, Winslow, a tortured soul of some sort, and I'm not sure who I choose. I'm not like that. I'm not really up on my young actors. I know who I like. I'm gonna dwell on that. Let's talk about Buckaroo Banzai. Who is your I don't remember any of the characters' names at all.
Because he, as a character, he's very square jawed heroics. Like he's good looking, and he does what needs to be done. The colorful stuff is surrounds him. All the other characters.
Yeah, his famous five, like the Doc Savage thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you could have a lot of fun with that in getting a bunch of faces around, whoever your lead is. So your lead just needs to be, sexy, and probably British would be good. In fact, there's a guy there's a new I wish I could think of his name. I really like him in everything I've seen him in. But he's got a new Amazon Prime series called like Jenny Flash and the Furious 2 or whatever, like a rock and roll type series or something. Oh. I think he was in Hunger Games. He was like kind of a badder guy on one of the movies. I forget. Really good looking guy. Been in a couple of romance movies. He would be good. And there's another dude who's in a show right now that just hit HBO. Another one that I can't think of the name of. But he was in a Woodhouse adaptation series years ago. The Blandings or something. I can't think of his name, but I can just see their faces. But anyway, the surrounding the villain and then all the other characters, you could have such fun with it. And sure. I always go to Sam Rockwell. I think. Oh
yeah, he's somebody who hasn't worn out his welcome.
Yeah, and he can do a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so he, you know, I could see him as Buckaroo Banzai for sure. He's my pick for a modern Kolchak. If you could ever really get a good Kolchak,
yeah.
It has to be someone like that can be, you know, kind of handsome and kind of rumpled at the same time. But he could pull off Buckaroo Banzai. The question is who the villain would be, like, because it's such a thing to, you know, to
Lizardo?
Ethan do. Yeah, like somebody that could really, like Nicolas Cage would be great as Lizardo. You know, he would go to town.
I've got two words for you. Danny McBride.
Danny McBride would be great, actually. He would be great.
Yeah.
He would be great. And they could do so much more with it. You know, it'll never happen, but those might be my picks. Either two of the British guys that I couldn't name, but you'll look them up and people will know who I'm talking about, for the lead, or Sam Rockwell and Nicolas Cage or Danny McBride as Amelia. And then from there, just watch everybody sign up to play the Hong Kong Cavaliers and the Lecter.
Yeah, I'm sure. And there's probably plenty of fans out there.
Mm-hmm.
I still can't pick a Winslow. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen.
It should be someone who could sing, though, too. You know, it doesn't have to be an actor. So you could get somebody.
Right.
Or an actor that can sing, obviously. But,
yeah,
you know, it'd be fun to get someone who was kind of famous but not, you know, wanted to be in The Mask or didn't want to show themselves, like Christian Bale or somebody that you go, really? They did that? You know, like and you know, a high profile person that can sing, but you never really see. Not a vanity thing, you know. Yeah. Those are great.
Russell Crowe.
Russell T. Crowe. It's Russell T. Davis and Russell Crowe as it.
Yeah, they've merged. They're the Russells.
All right, what's the next one? What do you got?
Oh, I don't.
I can give you one. Here we go.
Yeah, sure.
How about well, since we were being Weisenheimers and mentioned Colombo in the post, somebody did ask, do we have any thoughts on Colombo? And I thought, well, that could be quick. We'll see. Do you have any thoughts on Colombo?
Yeah, just one thing. Colombo reminds me of a year, just like my final year of college, and I was kind of like unemployed, and I watched Colombo every day, and then I knew I had a problem when it spun into Macmillan and Wife and Banachek. Which, you know,
that's right there. That's
the A&E mystery mornings.
Yeah,
I love Colombo. I mean, who doesn't?
Yeah, it's funny that I don't know, maybe why Colombo was in my head for some reason, but I came across these YouTube videos that are incredible, and I wish I could think of the woman who made them, but there's no name. It's like whatever her handle is on YouTube. She does deep dives of Colombo episodes. She's very funny, very kind of dry, and completely obsessed with the show. But they're fascinating. I watched a couple of them for episodes that I've never even seen. And she'll tell you, like, and you know, and that gas station now is at Fairfax and, you know, Crescent Heights.
Wow.
It's just incredible. And she knows, like, every face in a scene, like, that man is so-and-so. He never acted after this. And that gentleman you might recognize from But they're like 90 minutes each, and she just does this exhaustive deep dive, and I got completely.
Yeah, I'd be totally into that.
Oh yeah, I'll forward you that. It's but I love Colombo. I watched it in reruns as a kid, and I catch it occasionally. I always thought, or certainly did for many, many years, that the character was inspired by the police inspector in the original Diabolique film from the late 50s. That's what I thought forever. And then I had a text conversation once with our pal Ned Hastings, and he clued me in that it actually was inspired by a character in a play prior to that.
Yeah, and Falk wasn't the first Colombo.
Falk was also not the first Colombo, because the inspector in Diabolique has a habit of going, in French, like, okay, that's it, goodbye, and then turns around and goes, oh wait, one more thing, and then kind of comes back into the room, and one more little question sort of thing. But actually not totally inspired by Diabolique. Then I think the same person asked within the same question, brushes with greatness that I've had.
Oh yeah, there was a couple of questions there. Okay.
It's such a it's such a perfectly phrased question, because brushes with greatness would be the operative term. I mean, these are, there's certainly there have been times where I've been around someone famous and spent a good amount of time, chatting and having dinner or whatever. But if you're asking for stuff that just sort of stops me in my tracks, the first thing that comes to mind is meeting Brian May of Queen at the Oscars, after the Oscars. This is a few years ago. Queen opened the show, and then at the governor's ball thing afterwards, suddenly walked past. Now I'm like 17, G&Ts into the evening. I'm pretty drunk at this point, because I'm just having such a good time. And I'm wearing a little Freddie Mercury pin on my tux. It's an enamel pin. It's a pin of Freddie with the crown on, and it's got sort of a rainbow crown. And suddenly there he was with his wife, and I just was there.
And so, his afro.
His big old, now gray afro. And I came up to him and said, I'm so sorry to bother you, which I know everybody says, but I just wanted to tell you that I'm so thrilled to meet you. You've met so much. Oh, he stood up and shook my hand, and we got a picture, which I think I've burned because I look like a vagrant in it. And he immediately saw the pin, and he went, oh, look at that. I said, yeah, I wore this tonight. I was hoping it was for good news. And it was just in and out, but I was just like shaking afterwards. Like, that's a bizarre moment there to meet this guy that's meant so much to me. And the other one I think I'd probably say might be the first time we met Shatner, when he came by the booth, because I couldn't have been more cool throughout the day. Like, yeah, if he comes, he comes. If he doesn't, fine, whatever. It's just Shatner, come on. And then about 5 minutes before, when someone said, oh, he's on his way, I suddenly was 10 years old, and I just went, oh my god,
oh yeah,
William Shatner's coming. Not like he's the most famous person in the world, but for me as a kid, being that kid that watched these shows, and he came by for like 5 minutes, and it was a blur, but it was that tingly kind of oh my god, this is really weird moment. Those are pretty cool. I've had many brushes with greatness, but then 5 minutes later I'm right back into that shitty life that I have. No, that's but it's
too much information.
It's like the old saying. It's like, we don't live in that world, man. We just visit. We visit it, and then we go back to our lives. And that's what it's been, sadly. So there's my answer. I'm sure I'll think of 10 more after that. Okay, so if you don't have any,
I've actually got a couple more now. Yeah. Right, what, in retrospect, this is from Thor, is the most valuable card you sacrifice to a bike wheel? I'd like to open with Wayne Gretzky rookie card.
You really did? You put that in your spokes?
Because I don't know if you know this, but I was born without a sports gene.
I've heard that. That is going on.
Yeah. And if you'd like to give to the cause. But yeah, I did all kind. I know I had a Gretzky. We used to also play flipsies and all kinds of like games with the cards, because what do you do with them after? Put them in Mylar pockets in a binder, and then you were a kid. You didn't know what to do with trading cards once you bought them.
I just figured everybody. I figured Canada, they probably had rookie cards falling from the sky.
Oh yeah, no, Wayne Gretzky rookie cards in Canada is like autumn leaves. They were everywhere, but I didn't care.
I'll tell you what, I don't think I ever did it. It's such a weird thing to think of. Now that it's being asked, I don't think I ever put cards in my spokes. I did have a bike, though, that was, I can picture this bike. It was a hand-me-down from my two brothers. They both had it before me. And this thing, if you didn't know better, you would think that my brothers were born in 1948 or something. This bike was so beat, the seat had silver tape, that silver electric tape, on it, and it was falling apart. But that was my bike until I got a 10-speed, and I stickered the shit out of that bike. Yeah. So I had Charlie's Angels stickers on it and some Star Wars ones on the fender, what do you call the fender? Both back. And then the bike itself, I just stickered the shit out of it, but I never put cards in the spokes.
See, I was just going to make the joke. So you never got any Jaws 2 cards.
No, I didn't get Jaws.
Jaws 2 cards were like, you never bought a pack and you had a whole bunch. Yeah. I don't know how that happened.
Walk out of the store going, I didn't buy these. How did I? They just get them out of here. We can't sell them. Take them. Here's a free candy bar.
I got into a fight at a sleepover over Jaws 2 versus Empire Strikes Back cards. I remember this because this kid was like using his Jaws 2 like that currency. I was like, no, sir, that's a peso, and I have a U.S. dollar.
What kid wants to die on that hill? Jaws 2.
This kid called his mom and went home from the sleepover.
Wow. And where is that boy today? Is what I'd like.
He's apparently really like a important doctor.
Or I was going to say, or in an insane asylum.
No. He's apparently a doctor. I looked him up. Like, whatever happened to that? Oh shit.
Jaws 2 versus Empire Strikes Back Battle of 1980.
Maybe that wasn't so bad.
Okay. Well, and I want to address something else that I happened to see somewhere in those comments. My entire life, no one has ever said I sounded like Mark Hamill. I don't know where this is coming from. Because Mark Hamill to me is like dialed up to 11 all the time. Like I love him to bits, but he's always telling.
Could you say something about power converters?
I mean, there's that voice, and there's the one when he's on shows, and he's just he's always up here, and and then I didn't know about it until I found it. So if that's
actually, I think you sound like I'm on that Viking show.
The Viking show?
Have you seen that Viking show?
The show that's called Vikings?
No, I don't know what it's called.
The show he was on where he was like the elder.
Yeah, and he was like, I just watched Dungeons and Dragons starring Jeremy Irons and went, hold my beer.
Yeah, and he was doing an accent too, I think.
Oh my god.
Yeah. That was the only reason I checked it out.
It's like he's doing Ed Sullivan doing an accent.
Here's what I'll say about Mark. Again, I'm not offended in the least that people think on this show that I somehow.
Yeah, there's worse things to sound like.
Yes, I'm not. It's not. I just don't. I'm puzzled by it. I don't know why. Because I've been told other things, other people, Che Guevara, comes to mind, but I've never heard that before. So it's funny. It's a running thing on here. But I'll say this about Mark Hamill. Boy, he's a nerd and he freaking owns it. Like I think you watch that show and you go, I think he's thinking about getting home to look at his comic books.
Yeah.
He's like 18 right now. I mean, he truly is like.
Yeah. You know what? As I've grown up, like as a kid, I wanted to be Han Solo more than Luke. Now I kind of want to be more Mark Hamill than Harrison Ford.
It's funny, and this is not, I'm not sworn to secrecy about this, but within the process of researching stuff for the Star Wars Holiday Special documentary,
right.
We started pushing toward Nelvana. You're from your hometown. or your home country, who did the animated sequence, and they did the droids and Ewoks. Mm-hmm. Got to talking to them, and lots of tidbits came up, which are going to be in the documentary, so I don't want to spoil it. But one of them was, I finally said to Steve, who's directing it, I said, you got to find out where they recorded the voiceover. I'm dying to know where they did this and when. And we got an answer. One of the Nelvana guys said, oh, yeah, we did the VO for that in a studio in Burbank. Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher were all there together. And he told the story, and he said Harrison Ford did his lines, and then the guy was like, okay, that was great. Can we just get another couple of versions? And Harrison Ford just went, no, that's the thing. That's Han Solo right there. That's the character. And then Carrie Fisher goes in, does it in one take, says, can we get another take on that? And she says, no, that's the princess. That's the take. And then Mark Hamill goes in, and he's in there for like 17 hours doing his 4 lines. To get so perfect, everything. I'm like, that sounds like Mark Hamill right there.
Now, hey, here comes Slideshow Mel.
Exactly. That cracked me up.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's another question here. Let's say, do you have another one handy?
Yeah, I do. Okay. Let's see. What toy do you know for sure exists, but you've never seen one for sale or know anyone who has one?
Well, I bet you have a whole handful of those.
I have one particular, because it's over the years, I've had friends tell me things existed. They saw them. And the one that always, comes to mind is my friend John McGonigal out of Long Island said, oh, I watched a TV news report, and it showed Mego destroying their Logan's Run toys. So I know that happened, because the show got canceled.
That's not a memory of some kind, you think?
No, because I actually own the Mego Logan's Run figures.
Right.
Based on that. So another friend of mine once said, I saw it in Toy Shop. I tried to buy it. It was gone. And that was, this was the subject of issue 9 of Toy Ventures, which was Comic Action Heroes, the Mego Comic Action Heroes, the little squatting superhero figures. He said there was a Canadian 2-pack of figures. And he said it was in Toy Shop once and it never showed up again. And I still believe it's out there. I do. So okay. I think it exists.
I've got a couple that aren't exactly toys, but they've been driving me mad for 20 years. One is I'm convinced that in the back of Famous Monsters, there was an ad for a Vampirella doll, not the model kit, but there was some kind of doll, and it was either a half-page kind of ad or a smaller ad or something that I have not been able to find. I could be wrong about this, but I can picture the ad. Our very first, now we've done the model, we're doing this and blah, blah, blah. Maybe that never existed or it never got made. The other one is, again, I can't find proof of this, that in an issue of Starlog, there was an ad for a, everything was pewter back in the 70s and 80s, like a pewter replica of the Enterprise or a pewter. It's really just shit.
Oh, shit. I know what you're talking about. You're going to talk about the Close Encounters.
There was, I swear to God, there was a little diorama in pewter, Devil's Tower with the mothership. And I don't know if I dreamt it or it was a acid trip or something. I don't know. I've not been able to find proof of it, but I'm almost positive I've seen this ad.
Yeah, I maybe it's Mandela effect, but I swear to God you're right. And I don't have a big thing for Close Encounters.
Yeah, it's just the kind of thing that when you see it, some of those magazines, like I picked one up recently. It was from 1978, and I knew I had it from before. I could tell from the cover. But sometimes you go through those things and you're like, I know what the next page is going to be, because we would study those things so much.
Yeah.
And I swear I can picture the ad in my mind.
Yeah, it exists. I bet you I could draw the ad, and you would go, yes, that's how it looked.
Little order form at the bottom of the thing.
Yeah.
There's also and this is a deep dive because I'm a big fan of the '60s Avengers, the TV series. Their Lone Star made the Steed sword stick that I have.
You have that, yeah.
In the catalog, they have Steed's bowler hat that was made for kids. I have never been able
to get beat up.
I've never been able to find whether that actually got made or exists, and I've searched for years.
For the love of God, there has to be kids. All the kids that wore one would probably not remember it because of
got destroyed. Somebody beat them up and smashed it. But I just can't. I would love, and someone had like a photo of some kid walking down the street with their parents with the sword stick and the hat. That's their hero of choice in the '60s. I'd love to see it. But maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't even exist. It may not even exist. But those are sort of grails of sorts, I guess. Okay. How about?
I got another one. I just want to answer because it was just below the one you talked about, Mark Hamill, where it says, does Brian ever lose his cool, or is he always Canadian nice? And I want to say, ask my daughter when I'm driving her to school. And she will say, no, he's not nice.
I think I've heard you lose your cool a couple times, but not like
I lose my cool a lot.
I'm not around it, but I've heard it a couple times. But it was also not like you were screaming your lungs out or.
Oh, no. But all of my behavior is learned in this life.
From me,
from you. No, what I mean is like I've learned a lot of hard lessons, and one of the things is that I'm always saying at the end of my videos is like talk toys, not others. That's not because I'm some guru. It's because that shit has bitten me in the ass, and it's the wrong way to be. And like a good man doesn't have to have any rules, but I have rules, and
you should always. Lean.
I'm just working towards bettering myself. And I would really like to. What was as one of the Beastie Boys said years ago? I'd rather be a hypocrite than not have changed.
Oh, good
beautiful mantra. If I appear nice, yes, I try to be. I don't want to tread on anyone's world, but I'm also really mindful of who I am. And
I think more importantly, that question is implying that Jason does lose his cool all the time.
Oh, no, Canadian nice.
No,
which insists that because I live somewhat, actually not even north of a lot of Americans, because you used to live more north than I did as a kid. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a good answer.
Yeah.
This one I thought was interesting. Entertainment in the 70s. Entertainment in the 70s, ways that it was better, and ways that it's better now.
I've been really wanting to dive in on this.
Okay, go to it.
Okay. How is entertainment? This is Brian Arnold. How is entertainment better today than in the 70s, and how was entertainment better in the 70s than now? Okay. Ways entertainment is better today is the audience is not completely underestimated anymore. Because of the pressure, I think the decrease of pressure of the 3-network system, where you needed just to get the numbers up and you kind of catered to a middle ground. Now you can build something and just wait for it to attract the right viewers. I'm talking about shows like Police Squad, which required people to pay attention. Nowadays, that's common fare. So I think in a lot of ways, the less competitive nature of television and entertainment, movies and such, allows it to be, there's it's long tail marketing now, and that's a benefit. But how entertainment was better in the 70s is that we weren't so original ideas got out there. A lot of original ideas, and people took chances on things, and people took their time with things.
Not to jump in, but the first thing I was going to say was the main difference I think of with product from the 70s, and there's as many missteps as there are wins in the 70s.
Oh, sure. There's what the frick was that kind of stuff.
But there was a fearlessness to much of what happened in the 70s, what got made, because it wasn't, people were more willing to take more chances and risks. Yeah. Even if every studio, turns it down. Look at Phantom of the Paradise.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane that he got to make that movie.
Dude, Bugsy Malone.
Bugsy Malone is another one where it's like, what?
Can you imagine being in that pitch meeting? Yeah, we're going to do kids killing each other with machine guns and green pies.
I mean, De Palma, to give him credit, never played it safe. From he was, stuff in the 60s with Greetings and Hi Mom and stuff. But then you get to, because Sisters was before Phantom of the Paradise.
Yeah, it was.
Sisters did pretty well. I mean, Sisters was like kind of a well-reviewed, did well. And they do that. How do you pitch this thing? What is this thing? So they're now.
I think that's Phantom's failure, is that the studio didn't actually know how to pitch that thing.
Didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Exactly. But now it's like, I mean, Joe Dante talks about this stuff all the time, and the way things get marketed and how impossible it is, because now everything, the fear is from them losing their jobs or saying yes to something that doesn't work. It's that old saying, nobody ever lost their job from saying no to something.
Yeah.
Say yes and you commit to it. And with that, everybody, what I get really tired of is how everything is so leaps and bounds and more progressive, and you can talk about these things that are, well, of course things change with time, but the 70s took a lot of chances too. Like a show like Soap. I think about a show like Soap with Billy Crystal's character. And yes, the butt of many jokes. But to have a main character on a network show that was gay and not a mincing, stereotype of some kind, that was hugely progressive. And they got a lot of shit for it, for making that show, for having that character.
My parents wouldn't let me watch Soap.
Soap was daring, man.
I watched it from the stairs.
You're like, I can't believe this. Some of this stuff made it to air, and it was a challenge. But so there were a lot of goalpost move, things changing and all that stuff. Yeah. But the big thing is too, things were allowed to breathe. You had
agreed.
And a movie came out and found its audience, or it did well over the course of a few months or something. Someone said it, and I think it was maybe the Easy Riders Raging Bulls documentary based on the book, the Peter blah blah book, Biscayne, whatever his name is. They said it was that when they started putting box office results in the newspaper on Monday, not the entertainment magazines like Hollywood Reporter and Variety. When they started putting it into mainstream newspapers,
it had a huge effect.
Everything changed. And suddenly, it's been out for 3 weeks and it's only made that much? People never cared about any of that stuff. And unfortunately, you're seeing it now even with streaming, where, Netflix and other, they're giving a show, it got one season and it's goodbye. It's like, well, how do you build an audience? How are you finding this stuff? It's a weird, it's almost like a payola scheme or some kind. You're like, I thought that did really well with viewers, and now it's being canceled. And so the ways things are better now, I would say, is we are living in this golden age where, we've said it a million times on this show. When you heard about a thing, you had to hunt for it way back. And if it was a movie, and by the time we get to the 80s and it wasn't out on VHS, you probably were never going to see it. You could read about it, but unless it came to a festival, you were never going to see the thing until, bootleg tapes, and then eventually VHS, the actual commercial releases for things that were less well known, and so on and so forth. So now we're in this world where everything is a click away. Like, it's all out there now. So you and I talk about Amazon Prime being like, the cult video store, like Eddie Brand
or Tubi,
got everything. And same with music and everything else. So it's better in ways because technology is caught up, especially for all the stuff we dig, fantasy and horror and sci-fi, whatever you want to call it. They finally started to understand, these are the same people that are buying books and comic books and going to concerts and so on. They're not just, sitting in their basements or whatever. So we're getting much more of it. The sad thing is, exactly to what you said, they're not as anxious to do something original. I mean, I was thinking about Pixar recently. I think I think the one called Blues or Blue or whatever it was, Inside Out was original. But the bulk of what they've done for 15 years are just sequels of the stuff that
safe bets.
Safe bets.
Tentpoles. And I think that's the thing, is that there's no more making films like individual films. You know what I mean? Like, you could never make a Get Carter now.
Right.
Because there's no Get Carter 2 to come out.
Will we get another one? What'll happen next? And it's like, it should just be
it's like films have turned into penny dreadfuls in some way.
Yes. And in some cases, no doubt, we see something and we want it to get more.
Yeah.
I could have done 3 or 4 movies with De Niro and Charles Grodin after Midnight Run. I would have loved to have seen them do.
And I would have loved to have seen more Hoffman and Warren Beatty.
More Ishtar.
Ishtar.
And
what about Hackman and Aykroyd?
What was that called?
I can't remember.
Hot Shot something?
I went to see it. Loose Cannons.
You saw Loose Cannons in the
theater because girl.
Was it her choice?
Do you think it was mine?
I don't know. It's hard to tell because you saw K9, the Belushi film.
Girl.
With the dog. You saw that in the theater.
Yeah, with a very beautiful girl. Actually, the same girl. Damn.
Sensing a pattern here.
Brunette.
But
Brian, bad choice.
For everything that sort of works and we really go, they got it right. Of course you want more of them, or you'd hope that you could get a second one in a series or something. But it really is to the point that you look around and everything and all they want to hear about at studios is an adaptation of an existing book because the audience is already there, a remake or a sequel. And I'm not against sequels. I'm not against resurrecting a thing and doing it right.
My gosh, no.
I'm completely and utterly okay with that. It's been going on since the 30s. Like, of course, it's fine. But it's because of that, it's much harder to get, that's why whether you love it or hate it, some of the Christopher Nolan stuff is so special, that they're one-offs. Like, Inception is a top to bottom original.
Inception has come up 3 times this week in my household. That's very interesting. Yeah.
Maybe you're still dreaming.
Maybe I am still dreaming.
You're still in the dream. So that would be my answer. There's much more now, and we're living in this amazing time where technology's taught to bring all these things to life that we never could have gotten 30 years ago. But at the same time, there's a less gutsiness involved.
Now, I have a question from Bill McFarland, my friend. It says, why did Jill Marcus run out of the rink rather than skate with me at Rollerama in 5th grade? And I have to deliver the sad news. It's because you farted that one time, Bill. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, Bill. You wanted to make that public.
Yeah.
Question. Don't kill the messengers here.
Yeah. And he who denied it supplied it.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. And that's the one we're going to get letters on, probably.
Don't give me the he who smelt it dealt it, defense. We know.
Somebody asked Bill Hudson of the Hudson Brothers.
Is he a fan?
Bill Hudson of the Hudson Brothers got a lot of action back in the day.
Yeah.
I think Goldie Hawn, Some other names are listed.
Jill St. John, Ally McGraw, and of course Cindy Williams. How did this happen?
How did it happen? And I will see your Bill Hudson and raise you a John Derek. Because John Derek
what the hell?
Got to be with Ursula Andress.
I think John Derek had like a medallion and was like, look at my eyes, but not around my
Ursula Andress, Linda Evans, and then Bo Derek, all not at the same time, obviously, although he might have. I don't know.
Let's not put it
we don't know the powers that John Derek had, but I can't for the life of me understand. He was a good-looking guy, don't get me wrong, but he was a B-movie actor. He was never, A-list. And he directed Bolero and Tarzan the Ape Man. So,
he exploited every woman he was with.
And then there's that.
Yes. Yeah, and it's and they're all like, "Oh, John," and it's like, what is that?
And they became friends. There's photos of Ursula Andress and John Derek and Bo Derek hanging out. They became friends. Go figure. So
FTG.
I throw that out as a more bizarre one where you go, this is a whole series of In Search Of. Like, how did John Derek? What was the thing? But the Bill Hudson.
They're pretty freaking charming.
The Hudson brothers. I was going to say, I think that charm goes a long way.
Oh yeah.
And he's talented. He could write songs and do some music, which is whatever. And speaking as someone who's not particularly doesn't have matinee idol looks, sense of humor and goofiness and making them laugh goes a long way. So maybe that's what Bill Hudson had, in addition to being talented.
What is and also Shemp Howard.
Access to loads of cocaine, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
That was a big help as well.
Hope we solved that. This question's from Kurt. It's for me. What does your spouse think of the toy collecting? She's cool. I think it all has to be in one room. My house, she is a collector herself, but of more home decor and different things, musical instruments, that sort of thing. So we're both eclectic kooks, so we're fine.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, and also I want to get this one. What setting do you use to wash your Planet of the Apes cardigan sweater on? And my reply question is wash, which I've never done. Sorry.
You have a Planet of the Apes.
Oh boy, do I! Yeah, and I look dreamy in it, but I don't wear it a terrible amount. My wife wears it a lot to sleep in because it's warm and smells like me.
Oh,
see, I'm a very warm man. I am constantly barefoot. There are socks everywhere in this house. So yeah, cardigan. I don't need that. I'm already a furnace of a human being.
Right, and you don't want to ruin its value as well.
That does not matter. That's my children's problem.
Okay, so here's one. Favorite coloring book from childhood?
Mighty Apes.
Was that a cartoon?
No, it was a ripoff of King Kong. There was this huge display of knockoff King Kong merchandise that mysteriously showed up at my local variety store in 1977, I guess, whenever that Kong movie came out. And I still have it. I still have a lot of my childhood coloring books, like Speed Buggy and I think I've got Batman and Robin.
I was never a big coloring book kid. I mean, I certainly had them. I remember the Battlestar Galactica ones. I remember, I think, a Looney Tunes one. I was always into the ones that were coloring and activity books. So I always went for the one that had a little more bang for your buck. Not just, crayons on the page, but puzzles and crosswords and things like that. And there was one, I've told this story before, I'm sure. There was a drugstore up the street, like 2 blocks away. So I'm like 8 or 9 years old or something. Like, I kind of think about this too. Like, you wouldn't have a kid walk 2 or 3 blocks to the drugstore in that neighborhood today. But I used to go up there, get candy or like a thing of it.
You just made me laugh because it's like, yeah, but you used to also have a note for cigarettes back then.
I never did because my parents.
Oh no, my friend. I was just kind of joking about my friends and me.
That is that's another. Yeah. But anyway, so I'd go up there and they had candy and some magazines and coloring book stuff, and there was this coloring book for Flash Gordon, the animated series.
Oh, cool!
And I would go up there and page through this thing over and over and over.
I have one of those. They're amazing.
I memorized the whole damn book. It had coloring toward the beginning, and then it was, here's the Flash Gordon game. You could cut out like a pretend board game and tape this thing to 2 sides of a penny and use that as your playing piece. And it's got everything in it. And toward the back was this diorama. You cut out this scene that was Ming's throne room, and then cut out.
Yeah. I forgot how well illustrated that was.
Paste the pages to light cardboard, and then color the characters and cut them out and stand them up. And I would go up there and drool over this thing for weeks until I got the 89 cents or whatever it was to go up there and finally get it. And once I got it, it took me forever to use it up, but I used every bit of that thing. Every activity, everything to build or to color, I did everything.
I had a Tarzan one like that. It was Filmation Tarzan.
Yeah. Anything that had more than just coloring, I'm like, yeah, this is the way to do it.
Yeah.
Make it, utilize the pages. So that was my favorite. And then years later, I tracked one down. They made 3, I think, two that are more activity books and one that's just straight coloring book for the animated series. And I've got them put away somewhere. That would be the only one I could think of.
Okay. Let's talk about this one. I like this one, and I want your answer first because I have to go lay down. If you could send one modern action figure collectible back in time to your 8-year-old self, what would it be?
Oh my gosh,
isn't that like painful?
So something that
you would have wanted as a kid that got made now. Yeah.
Wow.
That's killing me because there's like, it would be like a box. It would be the really large box.
I mean, it's hard to pick one thing.
Yeah, it's almost like too many.
I think I can do it. I think I got it.
All right.
Because when I think about it, the other choice that I was going to make, we have yet to get some kind of major line from.
Right. Okay.
So I'm going to say at 8 years old and all the things that were in the stores that we already had, Star Wars and, Ish and all those things that were sort of happening, I'm going to say the character options classic Doctor Who. When that first wave hit,
damn it,
Zygon and Cybermen and all those things, but more so when the TARDISes started to come out and the TARDISes made noise and the sound effects and they lit up and the doors opened up and everything. If I had those when I discovered the show back then, I just, that is truly the definition of something that took decades to finally get. Even the Daypole stuff, it was like, I know we were glad to have it, but the stuff that did come out, the character options, because it is beautiful stuff. The sculpts are great, and the technology for the TARDISes is great. That would be the thing I'd send back and go, there you go. This weird show nobody knows about. Here's an entire toy line for it. You're welcome.
Okay.
That would be it.
Let me give you mine because you just blew me away, but it would be the 8-inch Biff Bang Pow Tom Baker action figure.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
because that's exactly what action figure meant to me as a kid, and that would have been amazing. But what's your runner-up?
My runner-up was going to be Battle of the Planets. Like I would have.
Oh yeah, okay.
Or an action figure line of all the characters, the ships, the Zoltar and all that stuff, which we still haven't really gotten. we've gotten, the French stuff here and there and the little odds and ends, but we've never gotten a really full-on action figure line, a 4-inch line or whatever for those characters, and so it doesn't count. So I'd only be sending back.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. Okay, so here's another one. This is from Jim Bush. Marjoe Gortner or Doug McClure? Who is more 70s?
Oh, this is easy. Marjoe Gortner. Because Doug McClure really came to prominence, or was doing a lot of Western things in the 60s. He was a pretty well-known face then. And yes, he's synonymous with the 70s because of the stuff he did then. But Marjoe is the definition of, like, this guy was a preacher. He was a child preacher that was then in a documentary called Marjoe, where he takes the crew, and debunks all the preaching and how it's all a big scam. And the next thing you know, he's a leading man. He's acting. He's going to the Oscars, and he's in TV movies that Pray for the Wild Boys, the motorcycle gang one.
He's an Earthquake.
Or he's in Earthquake. He's like a main character in Earthquake. So to me, he's like, that is the 70s where, Tony Orlando and Dawn have a number one single. Let's give them 12 episodes of a variety show. They've they haven't proved themselves in any way. But
Starlight Can they act? Pink Lady is a very popular Japanese band. Let's give
Starlight Vocal Band 12.
Well, Pink Lady, they didn't even speak English.
But there's worse. The Telly Savalas, variety special, all these things that happen.
Oh my God! Do not decry the Telly.
So I think Marco is more 70s than
all right. You know what? I'm not going to fight you. We both despise him.
Well, despise is maybe a strong word, but I'm kind of fascinated that guy made his way into motion pictures, and also who did he date? He dated some absolutely stunning woman from the 70s. Now I can't think of who it is.
I don't want to know.
Yeah, he got around. So I think I'd pick him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next question from Matt. What do you think of Simon and Simon?
I used to watch it. I watched it every week.
Yeah.
I think it was on after Magnum on Thursdays.
I actually joked recently that we should just bring it back with both those guys.
Yeah, you totally could.
Yeah. It's like 80. Gerald McCraney's got to be pushing 80.
Gerald McCraney, they're both still kicking. I'll say this about it. 2 of the best theme tunes for hour-long action.
Oh, yeah. That's like a Mike Post, right?
The first one is more like a...
But everybody knows that. Yeah.
I mean, if you've never seen those opening credits, people, look them up on YouTube. That is a fantastic opening credit sequence with a great tune. I give them that. And I watched the show. I definitely watched it.
Mike Post also did a cracking Captain America theme tune.
For the TV movie?
For the TV movie. Oh. It is great.
I can't even remember that. I'm just still washing the TV movie out of my eyes after all these. That's the first time maybe as a kid that I knew what rip-off meant.
No.
Oh, what the fuck?
Oh, I loved those as a kid. I was so... Okay, the first, and I will fully admit the first one is garbage.
Oh, it's beyond. It's beyond.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, Captain America gets into costume, jumps on a truck, bends the vent off the truck, like the exhaust, and that's the end of the film.
Doesn't he get into the costume in the last 2 minutes of the movie?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And he does nothing because of, violent censorship. Here's another question. You ever remember an old TV show called The Kid Superpower Hour with Shazam? And I want to say yes, I do. I loved it. And in fact, I had a real crush on Trixie, like the bad girl. I can't remember her name, but I think she was married to Willie Ames.
So this was live action.
There was live action intercut with cartoons. It was a filmation show. I want to say it was like 81, 82. And it had Shazam's, like Shazam cartoons that were very similar to the CC Back cartoons or comics of the time.
I don't remember this at all. I mean,
really?
I have memories of the 70s one. With
but yeah, it was. Let me actually do some research. But I liked the Shazam cartoons, and there was like, I think they were trying to get back at the Archie kind of thing.
The Archies?
Yeah, with that whole, like, they were a band as well.
Oh, I see. No,
it was 81, and
81.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
I don't remember this at all.
Yeah, there was a Hero High, like it was basically the Archies with superpowers.
Yes.
Pardon me?
CBS?
NBC.
NBC. No.
And it was a Lou Scheimer thing, like it was to be Archie Comics, but Filmation terminated the relationship with the publishers, and the characters were turned into more generic roles because they really do look like Archie and Reggie from the comics, and then they were a buffer to the intro of Shazam cartoons. It did not do well.
Wow, I'd have to look that up and see. Yeah. It doesn't. That was 81. I would have been watching it. I mean, I should have been watching it.
Yeah, maybe like the way they did with the Spider-Woman cartoon, it just didn't air in your area or your market.
Well, that could be. Because I remember, because when I hear, Power Hour, it's like, didn't everything have a Power Hour?
Yeah, Godzilla Power Hour. You're right.
The Tarzan Batman one, wasn't there like a Tarzan Batman Power Hour?
Power Hour. I think you're right. I think that was like a Power 2 hours actually.
It's funny, the issue of now that this comes up, the issue of Starlog that I picked up was from 1978, and it's got a amazing 5-page interview with Spielberg where so much stuff is hinted at that did or didn't happen, stuff like that. And there's one page that's like, what's happening on Saturday mornings? And there's half the article is about the Godzilla cartoon. Did you know that Dave Stevens did design on that cartoon?
I believe it. Yeah.
I had no idea. He's interviewed in the piece. So that was, 78 when they mentioned Godzuki, and how when they initially put designs through to Toho, they said he doesn't look enough like an ape. He's got to look more ape-like. So they had to change his features to give him the nostrils and whatever. But then the other part of the article was Stan Lee going on about the new Fantastic Four cartoon. And he's talking about it like it is going to be the greatest thing that animation has seen. Like just the worlds they're going to go to, the things they're going to do. It mentions Kirby in it, and of course he has to say in the article we can't we don't have the Human Torch because it was hanging out at CBS, and we had to invent a little robot to do
that would go over so well.
But the way he talks about it, it's just like, yeah, that's Stan Lee, all right. Just like it's going to be the greatest thing in the history of we're doing so much.
He was, Funky Flashman didn't come from thin air.
He just and then he says like, and we've got other projects in the works, but I don't want to talk about them right now to see how this one does. And then because didn't that eventually lead to the Thing one? Wasn't the Thing one after that?
Oh yeah.
It was like Thing.
Yeah. I don't know what. I remember being real, like I loved the Fantastic Four since before I could read, and I remember that Thing cartoon being so excited to see the Thing was going to have its own cartoon show, and then that September going, like I didn't know what WTF meant.
You're like, this isn't what I asked for.
But for some reason, that's all I can think of is WTF.
It's a weird one, too, that I look at now and go, wow, that happened. The Plastic Man cartoon.
I loved the first season of that.
That was.
And then the second season was such a jump the shark show.
I don't remember it being worse from. I don't know how far.
Yeah, no, because they got Baby Plaz.
Oh, Baby Plaz was in the
Baby Plaz was like 10,000 Scrappy Doos.
Oh my God, the freaking the freaking habit and need for all of these shows to have the goofy side.
Oh yeah, I loved the first season of Plastic Man, and then
because it was insane.
Brought in Baby Plaz, and it was insane.
It was just crazy. You're like, how? And he wasn't exactly a household name.
No, it was like it was like, okay, good first season, everybody. How do we just get all fired? Like
how do we completely ruin it?
Yeah, let's just go.
How about Baby
Plaz? Oh my God, I don't know how we got here.
They mentioned Godzuki, and the producer has to explain what this Godzuki character is, and you're like, was that the start? Was Godzuki before Scrappy Doo, or was Scrappy Doo first?
I think Godzuki predated Scrappy Doo. Scrappy Doo was like a cousin Oliver. They felt like Scooby Doo had gotten tired, and they,
you know what kids love?
A committee. None of which had children.
Right. So maybe Godzuki was first.
Yeah.
And then
you know what? I think I waited every episode to Godzilla, and it's like, please don't say and Godzuki this week.
Godzuki.
Yeah. Da, da, da.
So that was probably the first one, and then the next one probably was Flash Gordon, which was actually maybe Scrappy Doo was next, because Flash Gordon got the first season,
but Filmation was always about the impish characters, and I say that very.
But I'm saying, but wasn't Godzilla Filmation? Am I crazy?
No, Godzilla was Hanna-Barbera.
So who did it? Oh, so who would have been the precursor to Godzuki then? Like, because I would, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna put who are the two dipshits with the dog that were in Super Friends?
Wendy and Marvin.
Okay, maybe we start with Wendy and Marvin, because that's a good example.
Yeah, but except that there were impish characters on Filmation programs before that, and Lou Scheimer liked doing that kind of thing.
Give me an example of one that's like predates Super.
There's a show I think called Mission Magic.
Oh, yeah.
They have like an impish witch type character.
But that was more of a wacky. That wasn't
true. Okay, yeah, I guess I wasn't really prepared for this one. I would have liked for my research team.
Talk to your attorney.
Yeah.
Anyway, whoever starts it, we get all these, and we got it in Flash Gordon in the second season, because the first season was serialized. They were uptight about it because it was like, oh, well, how do we repeat this? It has to be repeated in order, which no other show ever was like that. None of these other animated series.
Yeah, and it always seems like a you problem. You sit there and go like, just air them in order.
You'd think, but they got uptight, and so they had to go back and instead make it, 2 stories each half hour. But they added this little pink dragon.
Yes.
Buckface or something. I forget what his name is. And just completely destroyed whatever sort of, credibility it had. And we just got it over and over and over and over again.
Yeah. And they created Orko,
who's now beloved.
Is he?
Yeah, he is. He really is. Everything to do with Masters of the Stinkor has a backstory and a miniseries somewhere, and it's really like probably a widower that his kids weren't born with a stink or something, and that's what
like I have no son.
It's everything. Fisto. There's a guy named Fisto. I mean, come on. Nobody in the room thought, really? Do we really want to go there with this? because it's already questionable.
I remember trying to post when I worked at Topless Robot, pitch an article about the most questionable Master of the Universe's names.
Yeah.
And I think I think he was right to refuse it. My editor, Rob Brick. But I think he was just worried that I was going to go that way with it, just.
Well, you would have, but he's also.
Yeah, there's no place but, like, I would have tempered it with kindness. I mean, just being silly. But also
get hunted down by the villagers with torches that are fans that would.
Oh, yeah, no, but I've already been through telling people Ice Pirate sucks.
But if you have you ever seen any of the relaunch of He-Man? Remember the one they did where he's like in outer space now?
Yeah, I remember the 90s He-Man, yeah.
No, was it 90s? Was it 90s?
Yeah, the relaunch where he was in space came out when I was like 19.
And it's very like anime and...
Yeah, I remember that.
It's freaking insane.
It's weird, yeah.
Long. Yeah, I watched...
There was a summer where I was in Germany, and that was on television. And I'd never known that there was a cartoon based on that. Did you know about that?
I don't think I knew. I knew the toy. I remember seeing the toy line in the stores going, what's going on here?
Yeah.
I've been in a toy store for years, and then all of a sudden, there they were. And I'm like, is this a thing now? What's going on?
Well, I remember those figures made a reprise as the Demolition Man action figures.
A reprise of He-Man?
Yeah, they used He-Man figures to make the Demolition Man figures.
Oh, they recycled the new launch of He-Man into the I never knew that. Wow. I also completely forgot that Demolition Man got a toy line.
It barely did.
That movie got a toy line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any other question? Any other listener mail or viewer mail or whatever?
Yeah, let's do one more. And then we'll sign off. I'm just going to go through this list. This is a good one. What monster was scary to you as a kid?
Ooh, that's a good question. Let me think. I'd have to have a think. You go first. I bet you've got one.
No.
You don't? You don't have
one?
No,
I want to. Okay. I was terrified of body horror as a kid. And I think the biggest impact that I can think of were early Doctor Who's, where they had Ark in Space or Seeds of Death. This idea of something taking over your body terrified me as a kid. And there was a book in my grade school, my Catholic grade school, called Invasion of the Plant People, which was completely that body horror. Like, this fog came into this town and turned everyone into plants. And it was photos, so it's like a real bad, kind of movie you would see on a UHF channel. And I think I found it on Kinder Trauma years later.
Kinder Trauma.
Then realized that, oh shit, there is no terrible movie associated with this. It was just a terrifying children's book, like a really scary Goosebumps. And so that's the kind of monster that scared me as a kid. And of course, Sleestax and the kid catcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Oh,
we all have that pain.
Child catcher is terrible.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Monster. Horrible Hamburglar-esque asshole. I
can't really think of anything that.
Oh, come on. You got scared.
No, I absolutely I got scared. But when I think of like creatures or monsters, like the black and white stuff never scared me. The Hammer stuff never scared me. I mean, I was into it. The images I think of, there's two things that I think of when I think of childhood that were trouser weddingly scary. And one was that frickin' TV movie, Where Have All the People Gone?
Oh, yeah, TV movies.
I only saw part of as a kid, but I must have been 3 or 4 or 5, I don't know what, but the notion that the body disappears and the powder is coming out the sleeves.
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
These people going there. Oh, look, there's the mechanic, and it's just this thing on the ground. But the other one that I had to leave the room. There was a commercial that was made for the movie called Magic with Anthony.
Oh, shoot. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
The screen is dark and it comes out.
I am your knee.
Freaking dummy is on the screen, and the camera just pushes into the dummy, saying, and what happened? Now she is dead or something. And I was like,
dude. I went to a birthday party.
Leave the room. I had to go outside.
Yeah, Mother's Pizza, and that's all the kids were doing was recreating that commercial. We were all it was the only other counter to the Magic ads was the It's Alive ads, where it was just that shot of that baby carriage and then that monstrous claw comes out.
I remember the poster. I remember seeing the poster in magazines or in the theater. Never saw the commercial, but that Magic commercial is up on YouTube. I don't know how you search for it because it's got 4 or 5 different commercials, but the one is the camera just pushes into this freaking ventriloquist dummy.
Yep.
When I saw it again years later, just a few years ago, I went, this is a really scary commercial. Somebody had balls to say at the studio to go, just take the freaking dummy and put it in a chair and make the thing move, and that's our commercial, because it is unsettling. It is still very unsettling. But
you and I have the same scar there.
His eyeballs, the eyes got bigger, and he's I'm like, shit.
It doesn't hurt that Snaps is the most terrifying ventriloquist dummy ever made.
He is. He's almost you look at that thing and you go, real ventriloquist dummies don't even look like this.
Yeah, and they're scary.
Yeah, they're scary. You made this thing super scary. His head is bigger. He's got real hair.
Joel Hodgson had a great story in an interview once where he was talking about somebody asked, why do you like puppets? And he's like, I'm kind of terrified of ventriloquist dummies. And he whatever church he went to as a kid, a ventriloquist came and did a performance, and he was fascinated. And after church, he tried to go downstairs to the bathroom of his church, and there was just the dummy sitting in the hall staring at him.
He actually told me this story.
At
the castle. We were talking about, because this was years ago. A bunch of us went, and he's a member, and he loves magic and stuff.
Yeah.
And because there's a couple of dummies in one of the cases downstairs, and he started talking about this, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot you were into ventriloquism. You were sort of into doing some of this stuff. But he told that story about just being terrified by this dummy alone in the basement. True though.
I always think of that.
I once did I shouldn't even say out loud, but I once narrated a documentary about a famous ventriloquist. But one of the lines was
Willie Tyler and Lester.
One of the lines was and then he moved here, and then he moved there, and now he was trying to work. And then one of the lines was, let's say the guy's name is Brian. I forgot his name. But it's there Brian lived in a studio apartment, just him and his little friends, and it was meaning him and his 4 or 5 dummies that he made.
Yeah. He
lived in this apartment, and I just stopped and I looked at the producer. I'm like, can you imagine what the conversations were like in that apartment?
Yeah.
This dude out of work, can't find a job, is not working as a ventriloquist in his apartment with his 4 ventriloquist dummies that he made. There were some heavy roundtable discussions in that apartment.
Yes.
Who's not pulling their share? Are we going to murder someone?
Are you going to flush that today? What's going on?
Just, oh my God, just the thought of, accidentally going into that apartment one night.
It just reminds me of Patton Oswalt. If the government is listening to me, they play it at their Christmas party.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's very funny. Okay. What did I have here? Oh, here's a good one. Maybe wrap on this. A missing action figure line that you've always wanted that you still don't have. Now, this could be mego, of course. You're going to go mego, but like it doesn't have to be 8-inch. It can be PVCs. It can be whatever you want it to be, obviously.
Yeah, it's a really good question.
The news do review.
The news do review. You know what's weird is I guess like the two leads of the New Zoo Review did a live stream recently.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, and they're married. And if you've ever looked at the leads of the New Zoo Review, yeah, he's the happiest man on the planet.
She was
gorgeous.
Really cute. I remember.
Yeah, I was 10 and going, hello.
Thing for who was on Mr. Rogers? Lady Elaine, or was that the puppet?
Yeah, no, I think Lady Elaine was the puppet. And that thing was terrifying.
I didn't have a thing for her, but the
no one did.
The woman that talked to the puppets, the woman that was on the show.
I can't remember. I watched Mr. Rogers like once as a kid.
She was pretty. She was very pretty.
He's
going nuts here. Every time I get on the phone, he suddenly wants to have a conversation, and he's just jumping all over me because I'm talking to somebody right now. I'm sure you can hear him going nuts in the background.
Oh, sure. So this is the number one toy line you'd like to have now, right?
Yeah, like something that most of what you love has been made in one form or another. But is there something that
I would love a series of UFO action figures?
Well, you might get them. You might get them with this new Anderson line that's coming out.
And they're doing a Straker, but they're going to deal with the puppets. I do want them, and I will pay for them. But UFO is
if they make those in that line, they do UFO characters in that line, and his car. They make his car. Can you imagine?
Yeah, I can. I can imagine my checkbook.
I'd be all over that.
Floating all over the place.
Well,
I would absolutely love that. Yes.
Awesome packaging. Packaging would be really cool. Yeah, I'd be all over that too. I recently got this is a while back. The prisoner figures showed up, and they're really nice.
Oh yeah, I didn't buy those.
They're really nice. It was really well done. It's a very good sculpt. There's 2 or 3 different versions of the carded figure, and then there's a set of him and another character from an episode. Then there's the one that comes in the bubble, the rover bubble. The cover comes off. You can take it out of there. But it was really nice, and I thought, this is really well done. These are nice. Congratulations to these people. I would still love an action figure line for the Avengers, because I've been deep diving on it again the last couple of months, going all the way from Honor Blackman right through the end of the 60s. Now I'm doing the new Avengers. So I would love 4-inch scale figures and the vehicles and different, like a Cybernaut and these different other.
That'd be lovely. Yeah.
I would love that. And I'm wishing somebody would do it. I think someone else asked if there's a property that we thought should get a relaunch or a new show or something, or a reimagining or something like that.
Yeah, I would say Blake 7.
I think we agree on that. Blake 7 would be. I'm surprised that has not been resurrected, because that could be a cool, even more adult show than it was, with extra extra-violence,
Exactly. Yeah. What was that? What's not extra-violence? Ultra-violence. Thank you very much.
Yes.
You knew where I was going.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. There's our first episode of
Q&A.
All requests, no repeat Thursday.
That's right. And remember, you keep the glass.
Yeah, well, we should do it every now and then.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, absolutely. This has been a lot of fun. Yeah. And it certainly is kind of like a great bit of thought exercise for us as well.
Yeah, because and each answer kind of spurs on to the next thing. And thoughts. So, yeah, good stuff. Thank you, everybody, for participating.
Great. Yeah, thanks, everybody. And there'll be more of this in the future.
I think I should add at the end here, Rockford J asked a favorite Queen song. And I'm not sure if you even have one. But if I had to pick, I'm going to say The Hero, which is the end credits of Flash Gordon. It's a little known thing in Queen lore, unless you really know them and love that movie. from the soundtrack album, the version from the soundtrack album, because it's an incredible tune. It just goes at 100 miles an hour, and then it brings in the orchestral stuff toward the end too, some of the score, and it's one of those, when I hear people say they don't really know Queen that much, I go, try this song. They did this song at the end credits, and then people are blown away. So that would be my answer, Rockford J. Do you have one, Brian?
I'm trying to think, because I think it's an important question. Gosh, like, I love Brian May's guitar. I love Starfleet, very, very much, like what he did there. Like, the first album I ever bought was the Flash Gordon soundtrack.
Is it really?
Like, yeah, that was the first, like, rock record I ever bought.
How is it I've known you this long and I never knew that?
I'm pretty sure I've said that before.
I don't think
it's okay. I mean, my own wife doesn't know that fact.
Peter and Loose Cannons. That I knew.
Loose Cannons was
but not
done for love, sir.
Your first Flash Gordon. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that was the first record I ever bought. And I don't know what my favorite Queen song would be.
There's no wrong answer.
No, there's no wrong answer. I'm going to look at Queen songs for 2 seconds. It's not Bohemian Rhapsody. Gosh, there is some good stuff in here. I do love Under Pressure very much.
That's a great one.
Yeah. It's not Radio Gaga.
How dare you? How dare you?
I would have to say probably under Queen songs, I would have to say I do really, really like Another One Bites the Dust, and Don't Stop Me Now is a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah. I mean, there's just those would be probably my favorites.
Hard to pick. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. There you go.
All right.
Well done, everybody. Thanks for helping.
I've learned a lot tonight, and I hope you have too.
Absolutely. That was great. Thanks. Everybody. We'll do it again.
Thanks, everybody, and we'll talk soon. Cheers.